Hi, I would like to talk about the different emotions that you can prepare yourself for when you do any kind of extensive offshore sailing. Before I jump into the different emotions, I would just like to give you an idea of the scale in time that I am talking about. Myself and my wife, we left Simonstown, South Africa. We sailed on to St. Helena Island, and that took us 28 days. From there we went to Ascension Island. The 28 days was because we still didn't know what we were doing. And then from Ascension Island to Brazil is exactly the same distance, and we did that in 14 days. So it does show that there's a huge learning curve, but we halved our time. When we came to Brazil, that was a total of 44 days. We spent another 6 days like on and off going up the Brazilian coastline. So that's a total of 50. And then from Fortaleza in the north to Trinidad was 18 days. So that's 68. Let's make it 70 days all in all. Now, for two people, split that in half. So for me, that meant 35 days that I was on duty. And I'm obviously talking about 24-hour days. The 35 you can then split in half and make that 17 and a half for the time that I spent at night versus the time that I spent during the day. Now, one of my shifts was 12 o'clock at night until 4 o'clock in the morning. So I never saw the sunrise for days and days on end. Now, the first emotion, and this is the one that really gets you in that graveyard shift, and that is the emotion of loneliness. It's the emotion of being totally alone out there, in the dark, just sitting there steering a boat. We didn't have an autopilot. We broke our self-steering rudder very earlier on in the trip. So we sat at the helm and steered our vessel for 4 hours on and 4 hours off. The loneliness is unbelievable, especially in the beginning. That really got to me. Fortunately, my psychological knowledge helped me through, because I decided to go back in my past and to play a little game and to ask myself, you reached a certain decision when you was that age. Why did you take that decision? Had you had to do all of this over again, would those decisions be different? And then the big question is why? So that for me set up a path of self-discovery, which ended up to be quite amazing. Just in terms of knowing yourself. If you don't know yourself well, then do a lot of extensive offshore work. That will change rapidly. You'll get to know thyself quite quickly. Now, the loneliness then doesn't become an issue anymore, because you have somebody to talk to, and that is yourself. And man, I did talk to myself, sometimes out loud. I had unexpected visitors. There was birds just way out there, 700 miles offshore, that came to rest on our yacht. And El Ham station was quite close to our solar panel, and that was an ideal spot for them to come and sit and rest, and some of them even spent the night. And I had a lot of conversations with a bird, and he was with us for 4 days and 4 nights. And that was wonderful, because I really made a friend. And that was absolutely amazing. This leads me on to the other emotion, and that is the one of excitement, of literally being in awe of the stuff that you see around you. We were pleasantly surprised many, many times by pots of 150 to 200 dolphins that would bow ride. We saw this enormous, enormous sunfish. And we got very, very close to it, and it was just lying there. And also the other amazing thing is that out there, they do not have fear. We had a little swallow that just came into our boat, and he sat next to our feet. And then he jumped onto my wife's hand. And they just don't have fear. I don't know whether that swallow ever saw humans or had any inclinations what humans may do to him. But it was astonishing just to see how calm and friendly and without fear they were. Now, talking about fear, that would be the next emotion. We went through a terrible, terrible storm that lasted 36 hours. And in that storm, we thought that we were going to die initially. We were absolutely terrified. My wife at a certain point was totally just standing there, staring at me. She was debilitated. She could not move. She was totally caught up in fear. Much, much later, I had a similar experience where I couldn't move and I was literally frozen by fear. If you are unfortunate enough to be out there where in a storm like that and you do feel this terrible, terrible emotion, then I want to give you a psychological tip to really try and get you out of that quickly. If you feel that fear creeping up from your toes all the way up into your brain, and you feel those gremlins that want to take over, and you feel that this isn't real anymore, and you get all those negative feelings, we're going to die, we're not going to make it, then please remember FR, fear, refocus. FR, fear, refocus. And that is what you need to do. You need to immediately say, what do I have to do? Take action. As soon as you do action, even if it's just walking in the cockpit, even if it is whatever you do, take your mind away from the fear that will eventually engulf you. That's what I did. I kept on taking action to get us out of that storm. When my wife was not in a frozen setup, she also did the same. And we were there for each other. Now, that's also just another general tip. If you can, surround yourself with very emotionally strong people. Out there, it makes a huge, huge difference in survival. Now, we were so terrified that we sat down at a certain point and we greeted each other. And in that moment, we accepted death. As soon as we did that, we had this wonderful, wonderful experience of being extremely calm. Now, initially we were so terrified of dying, and then we couldn't wait for that to happen because we have given everything that we had. The next morning, my wife said, last night we were prepared to die. This morning we should be prepared to live. So always remember that in this life and always be prepared to live. Now, the happiness that you feel once you accomplish a goal, like for example, when we reached St. Helena, it was awesome, it was amazing. Those are the other feelings of awesomeness, of being amazed by the wonderful, wonderful stuff that will happen to you. We met the most wonderful people out there. People that is not from our culture. People that gave us the opportunity to also grow as people, because you start seeing life through the eyes of others. And that for me was what cruising was all about. It is really an awesome experience. Yes, there are pros and cons, and feelings that are not always conducive. Now, back to those feelings, you can probably hear that there was a lot of, during that storm, there were a feeling of total despair. Now, that's the total blackness that comes over you. But again, just refocus and work through it. The other emotion, and this is one that I only had once, was an emotion of anger. Now, we did a delivery to the United States from the British Virgin Islands. We delivered a 50-foot yacht catamaran to the Annapolis Boat Show. The organizers asked us to please take 2 people with us, and they gave us the insurance that this guy was an American captain. Well, and I asked them, do you have any proof? And they said, no, he forgot his stuff at home, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turned out that this guy, as far as I was concerned, wasn't the captain at all. I don't know whether he knew the difference between a jib and a mainsail. But, you know, we had them on board, and he did a terrible, uncontrolled job. We came out, myself and my wife sorted out the boat. And I asked him, I said, what on earth did you do? He said, no, man, I know that before you went to bed, you told me to wake you when we get into the channel. I saw a light, and I'll show you in a card on the chart what I did. And he showed me. And sorry for my French, but this idiot followed a ski boat. And in the process, he had an uncontrolled jibe in 20 knots of wind. You know, that kind of thing is just absolutely stupid, and there's no need for that. So I was only angry once. That is an emotion that I care to not deal with. I can if I have to, but you also in this life find it's better to stay clear of anger, because it will destroy you. Thank you ever so much for your time. I have appreciated doing this for you, and have a wonderful day.